So, you think you're tough? You survived modern life, delayed flights, vegan cheese, and that one time your phone died on 1%. But imagine waking up in 1325. No power, no plumbing, and your Wi-Fi password is now the Plague 1325. Welcome to medieval Europe, a magical land of mud, diseases that sound like heavy metal bands, and hygiene practices so cursed they'd make a raccoon flinch. Tonight we'll stroll, or hobble, through 10 absolutely delightful reasons why you, yes you, wouldn't make it through a single day.
This isn't fantasy cosplay. This is real, brutal, scratchy wool underwear history. So, grab a goblet of mead, or chamomile tea, and let's begin our downward spiral into the past. Reason number 1. You wake up in a flea-infested straw bed next to your goat. Let's paint the picture. You open your eyes to a dim, smoky room, lit by a single hole in the wall, pretending to be a window. You're not alone. Your whole family is here. And by family, I mean mom, dad, 5 siblings, a chicken, and your goat Gerald. You slept on a pile of straw stuffed into a sack. That's your mattress. You're covered in fleas. You itch constantly. There's no blanket, just an old wool cloak that smells like regret and fermented turnips. Oh, and the fire you lit last night for warmth? It's trying to suffocate you. Your lungs now have a second job, filtering out chimneyless smoke. You try to sit up, but you're stiff. That's because your mattress doubles as a chiropractor's worst nightmare. And Gerald, who has eaten part of your sleeve, seems emotionally unavailable. Still feeling comfy? Great! Let's ruin breakfast next.
Reason number 2. Your first meal is a gloopy mystery called pottage. Forget toast. Forget eggs. Forget coffee. Breakfast is a lukewarm bowl of pottage, a medieval stew composed of barley, turnips, onions, and culinary apathy. It's been boiling since last Tuesday. The ingredients vary depending on what you didn't starve to death without. The flavor? Think oatmeal, if oatmeal gave up on life. You scoop it up with your hands, or a wooden spoon you share with your cousin. You wash it down with ale, because the water's about as safe as a game of Jenga on a trampoline. Kids drink ale. Pregnant women drink ale. Everyone drinks ale. And not the fun IPA kind. It's weak and warm and tastes like bread soup. Full of mush and mild alcohol? Perfect. Time to find a toilet. Just kidding, there isn't one.
Reason number 3. Your bathroom is a bucket. On a good day. When nature calls, it screams. You stagger to the corner of the house where a wooden bucket patiently awaits your bodily offerings. Privacy? None. Scented candles? Hilarious. If you're a little fancier, you go outside to the communal pit, essentially a group project in horror. You do your business while making direct eye contact with your neighbor, who's also squatting and judging your form. Castles have something called a garderobe, which is basically a vertical drop into a pit or moat. It's less bathroom, more medieval diving board for waste. Hope you weren't downstream. To wipe? Moss, or a smooth stone if you're feeling fancy, sometimes just your left hand, which is why the right hand became the handshake hand. Still feeling fresh? Don't worry, you won't have to worry about showering, like ever.
Reason number 4. You bathe once a year, if you're fancy. Modern hygiene is a full-time ritual. Soaps, shampoos, exfoliants, $22 face masks that smell like lavender and insecurity. Now imagine doing none of that. Ever. In medieval Europe, bathing wasn't routine. It was revolutionary. Most people believed that water opened your pores, and open pores were a one-way ticket to disease. So instead of scrubbing away dirt, folks just layered over it, like geological strata. Dirt, sweat, more dirt. Think of it as medieval SPF. When you finally do bathe, maybe for a wedding, a festival, or because a nun threatened you, it's not solo time in a porcelain tub. You're in a wooden barrel or shared bathhouse, likely surrounded by strangers, livestock, or both. The water's lukewarm at best, reused by multiple people, and filled with enough bacteria to write its own autobiography. Soap exists, technically. It's made from lye and animal fat. It doesn't smell like cucumber melon, it smells like burning. One scrub and your skin's exfoliated down to the bone. If you're a peasant, you might wash your face in the same basin your pig drinks from. If you're a noble, you get slightly better odds of survival. Mainly because you die from perfume-related poisoning instead. Oh, and forget about brushing your teeth. Dental hygiene was a medieval choose-your-own-adventure. Some chewed herbs, others rubbed their teeth with wool. Most just didn't bother. By age 25, you're half-toothless and smell like a fermented beet.
Reason number 5. Your job is back-breaking manual labor with no days off. Clocking in for your 9 to 5? Cute. Medieval work is 5 to forever. Whether you're a peasant, a blacksmith, a baker, or a thatch roof repair guy, your day starts before the sun and ends after it dies. Let's say you're a farmer. You wake up, plow fields with your bare hands, or maybe with a reluctant ox. You sow, harvest, thresh, grind. It's exhausting, endless, and dirty in every sense. Rain, you work. Sun, you work. Plague, you still work. Oh, and all your crops, they go to your local lord. You get to keep whatever's left, which is usually sadness and beets. Not a fan of farming? Maybe you're an apprentice in a trade. That means 7 years of unpaid labor in exchange for the right to maybe open your own shop, assuming you survive long enough to afford a single hammer. And women? They do all this too, plus childbirth, child care, water fetching, laundry, and surviving being a woman in a time when blinking could be considered a sin. If you're a noble, your work is less physical and more political. Land disputes, attending court, arranging marriages, and avoiding being poisoned by your cousin. And guess what? Sundays aren't for brunch, they're for church, a 2-hour standing session inside a cold stone building while a priest yells in Latin. It's less spiritual awakening and more medieval hostage situation. But maybe you're a people person. Social butterfly, life of the party. Well, good luck, because in the Middle Ages, society comes with rules, and breaking even one could get you creatively executed. Reason number 6, one wrong look and you're tortured for being a witch. Socializing in medieval Europe, a real minefield. One minute you're chatting with the baker's daughter about your turnip stew. The next, you're tied to a chair while someone accuses you of turning their goat inside out with black magic. Justice was a choose-your-own torture adventure. No lawyers, no innocent until proven guilty. It was more like guilty until you float in a river tied to a rock, or you drown and die an innocent. Medieval logic is undefeated. Smile at the wrong noble, punishable by whipping. Steal a loaf of bread, lose your hand, or worse,
get publicly humiliated with a metal shame mask that makes you look like a Renaissance raccoon. Say something clever, and you're a witch. Say something dumb, and you're possessed. Stay quiet? Obviously in league with the devil. There was no winning. Oh, and witch trials? Less about justice, more about neighbor drama and unpaid debts. My cow stopped producing milk. Clearly, Agatha hexed it. Next thing you know, Agatha's being waterboarded with ale and roasted like a medieval marshmallow. And the church? Powerful, unquestioned. If they said the sky was plaid, it was plaid. Heresy was basically disagreeing. And punishment came with flair, crucifixion, flaying, or maybe getting your tongue cut out for blasphemy during a sneeze. Social mobility? None. You're born a peasant, you die a peasant. Trying to rise up, you're either starting a rebellion or just asking for a beheading. But forget social rules, let's talk survival. Because the real boss level of the Middle Ages was germs.
Reason number 7. The plague is real and everything wants to kill you. Welcome to the most iconic aspect of medieval life, the Black Plague. It's not just a historical event, it's a lifestyle. Rats? Everywhere. Fleas? On you. Diseases? You're basically a walking medieval soup of bacteria. One bad breath from a guy named Jeff, and you've got 3 days to live. Let's run the hits. Bubonic plague, leprosy, tuberculosis, sweating sickness, which sounds like a gym fail but is actually fatal, and that weird cough that starts on Monday and ends with your funeral on Thursday. Doctors? Think bird masks filled with herbs and an attitude problem. Their cures ranged from drink mercury to put a toad on your boil. Bloodletting was a popular pastime where they'd just drain your bad humors like a medieval oil change. And antibiotics? You wish. Infections killed. A scratch from your cat meant death by gangrene. Pregnancy? Russian roulette with bonus bleeding. Toothache? Say goodbye to that jaw. But hey, maybe you've got a strong immune system. Doesn't matter. You live surrounded by rotting food, open sewage, unwashed bodies, and pigs. Every medieval town was basically a petri dish with cobblestones. Still alive? Incredible. But don't celebrate just yet. You've got to eat again, and that's when the real danger starts. Reason number 8. Every meal is a health hazard disguised as food. Ah, yes, food. The thing you need to live, but also the thing that might kill you faster than the plague. Let's start with meat. It's rare, expensive, and heavily salted to avoid spoiling. Except it spoils anyway. You eat it gray, rubbery, and vaguely squeaky. That squeak? Probably worms. Vegetables? Seasonal, limited, and boiled to oblivion because raw food was considered unwholesome. You're basically drinking plant-flavored broth and chewing on disappointment. Refrigeration didn't exist, so anything that isn't dried, pickled, or buried in salt is rotting. And guess what? Your nose is so used to the smell of garbage that you can't tell what's off anymore. Also, no forks. Those aren't a thing yet. People just use their hands or knives that look like they've murdered someone recently. Dessert, if you're lucky. Honey, dried fruit, maybe a pie made from spiced meat and raisins. If you're not lucky, more pottage. Always more pottage. Oh, and allergies, intolerances. Hope you're not gluten sensitive, because medieval cuisine is 90% barley and despair. And if you're lactose intolerant, just consider yourself lactose doomed. But maybe you're hoping for some fun. After all, food may be deadly, but at least you can dance it off at a medieval party, right?
Reason number 9. Fun means watching executions and throwing turnips. Entertainment in medieval times was a real vibe, and that vibe was bleak. No TV, no movies, no podcasts. Your options were basically negligence juggle geese, listen to a bard sing 42 verses of a song about mud, or attend a live public execution with snacks. Executions were the Super Bowl of medieval fun. Entire towns gathered to see people hanged, drawn, and quartered, or burned alive, all while munching on roasted chestnuts. The front row seats were killer, literally. Want to play a game? Maybe a round of beat each other with sticks. Sports were violent, rules optional, and teeth frequently lost. Football involved 200 people and a pig bladder. First one to survive wins. Music, sure, if you like lutes, flutes, and the occasional drum made from cow stomach. Singing was a communal thing, mostly off-key, always tragic. Reading? Not unless you were a monk. Books were hand-copied, written in Latin, and chained to tables. They weren't entertainment. They were sacred relics, like a Kindle, possessed by the Holy Ghost. So after a long day of plague, pottage, and possible impalement, you finally get to rest. But before you dream of surviving, let's check your odds. Reason number 10. Your life expectancy is terrible. Let's talk numbers. The average life expectancy in the Middle Ages, about 35. But that includes infant mortality, so if you made it to 10, you were already a survivor. Like, write a poem about me, survivor. Your teeth rot out before your 20s. Your spine is crooked from labor. You've had more children than birthdays and probably buried half of them. You've survived at least 2 plagues, 1 famine, and a goat-related injury. Medicine is guessing. Work is endless. You sleep on hay, and your dreams probably involve hot soup and not dying in your 30s. And yet, people still loved, still laughed, still sang songs and carved stories into stone. Somehow, in the middle of mud, blood, and merciless weather, they found a reason to dance. Resilience is weird like that. Humans are hard to kill, even when life tries really, really hard. So now that you've lived a day in the worst Airbnb in human history, let's wrap it up.
So, could you survive a day in medieval times? Between the bugs, the bed, the bucket, the boiling pottage, the public executions, and the possibility of being accused of witchcraft for sneezing too loud you'd tap out by noon. But here's the twist. The Middle Ages were real. Real people lived, laughed, fought, loved, and built entire civilizations while battling lice and philosophical arguments about whether peas had souls. It was brutal, it was brilliant, and it's the reason we have castles, cathedrals, and cautionary tales about eating grey meat. If you enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button. Drop a comment with which medieval horror broke your spirit. And share this with a friend who thinks they'd thrive in the olden days. Let's see how they feel about pottage and parasites. Now close your eyes. Hug your pillow. Good night, noble peasant.